What's your favorite match?
My favorite match was with Melina and Alicia Fox.
If you want some, come get some.
This is such good
I am the visionary. I am a revolutionary. I am Seth.
Look at Greg. I can't give the stuff to Nestle, but I can give it to my mama. I can give it to my mommy.
Acknowledge me.
All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Rasslin with Mike. I'm joking. It's Rasslin with Ryan.
I was about to say, bro, that ain't the name of this show. You got your own stuff. This is my show. My show. Now, welcome to another edition of Rasslin with Ryan. Today we're talking about the newly introduced Women's United States Championship that was introduced on SmackDown by SmackDown GM Nick Aldis, and we're also discussing our top 3 women's matches of all times. Ain't that right, Mike?
Yep. So I'm kind of a little disappointed in the fact that they didn't really try to do anything different with the Women's United States Championship. They didn't give it a new name. They didn't do anything special. They didn't even give it a new design. It's basically the United States Championship with just women slapped on it. No new design.
To be fair, WWE likes the whole using their logo for everything for advertising and marketing purposes.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for it to stay with the W and stuff. And I honestly I don't mind the design just because you got to think about it. It's a long time coming for a mid card championship for the women. So I can look past the design because this was a long time coming for the women.
But that's why I think you should want to give them something new and something fresh, and for them just to be lazy and be like, oh, we're just going to use the United States Championship and just put women's on it. It's basically the same design. You're just putting a white strap on it and saying women's. There's nothing new and refreshing about it. But it is a mid card title for the women's, and it'll be interesting to see if what they do on Monday night if they introduce a new women's intercontinental championship.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious to know too, because I heard that they were plans for not 1 but 2 mid card titles, and apparently Netflix wants a mid card title. And since they're going, since Raw's going to Netflix, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see the introduction of a women's intercontinental championship or some other mid card title. But I most likely it would be a women's IC title.
Now, if it were up to me, I would think you would just want one mid-card women's championship, because then you could be able to float the championship between shows, just like the tag team titles for the women's tag team.
I get that, yeah.
I just don't think they have enough women on the roster to be able to keep afloat both those championships.
Yeah, I see your point there. You might be right there. So, yeah, I know me personally, someone who I would like to see win the inaugural women's U.S. title is Candice LeRae, just because I feel like she hasn't been properly utilized, and I know she's very talented, like her pre-WWE days. Another person I think would be good is Naomi.
Yeah.
I feel like Naomi, who's been in the company for a while, even though this is her second run, but she has history with the company. She's long been one of the most highly respected women's wrestlers on the roster. She's really good in the ring, and I feel like with all her hard work, having her be the inaugural, women's U.S. champ, I think could go a long way. Bring some much needed, a familiar face with it, someone the fans are, comfortable with. And then someone else who I think could be a great inaugural U.S. women's champ is Chelsea Green.
Chelsea Green.
Yeah, no, I think, Chelsea Green's been putting on some of the best work of her career these last couple months. And I know a lot of people might look past it, but honestly, her feud with Meechin was pretty entertaining. The dumpster match they had was actually pretty good. I was a fan of that match. And I've been a fan of Chelsea Green pretty much since she came back. Because, she is there more for, comedic purposes. But she's honestly really underrated as an in-ring performer. And I feel like she definitely deserves, to at least be in consideration to be considered the inaugural United States Women's Champion. So, And
Yeah,
another person who I think too is also Michin. I think Michin's another person you could consider.
yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting to see what they do if they want to. I think you're gonna have what's her name? Tiffany Stratton. You're gonna have her, in the women's world championship mix or WWE championship mix. I think they're gonna want to separate, at least, you know, women that are in that world championship category, and then you're gonna want to separate them for women that you want specifically in this United States Championship category. And then the same
Yeah.
thing if they do that for Raw. You're gonna want that. The only thing my concern is that you just don't have enough women to keep it going. You just don't have enough women to keep it, entertaining for each week.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think it would be a good idea, like you said, with the women's tag titles, have it bounce like back and forth, and whoever the champ is, they're allowed to go to both shows, and even NXT, you can even have them go to NXT,
Exactly. I
make
think
things interesting. And another thing too is, I'm not saying they will, but you have this WWE and TNA partnership. Imagine
yeah,
that you have the women go into TNA or NXT, and they do an open challenge, and someone from TNA answers the challenge or vice versa. So
mhm.
you have that going too. There's a lot of possibilities here on what they
There
can
is.
do with the Women's United States
Mhm.
Championship.
I think the NXT roster has a lot more better women than what you're seeing on Raw and SmackDown.
Oh yeah, you have people like Julia, Stephanie Falker,
Yeah.
um,
But once those women are,
Kalani Jordan.
yeah, once they're drafted up to the main roster, I think it's going to be do well for those mid card titles. But I think just
Yeah,
right now, it's not gonna. You're kind of.
yeah, and I think we're gonna see more with like the women's mid card division once Raw moves to Netflix, because
Yeah.
I think that's when we start to see a shift
Hmm.
in like booking of certain like certain titles of certain people. So yeah, so I think once Raw moves to Netflix is when we start to see a shift, and I think that's when the women's division is really going to start to pick up, because I heard that there's a plan for there to be some NXT call-ups come Raw on Netflix.
Yeah, definitely. Now they haven't made any plans specifically to how they're going to introduce the title, or both titles. They haven't
Yeah,
said if it's going to be a tournament or a fatal four way or a single.
probably a tournament.
Hmm.
If it's either going to be like a flat out tournament, kind of how like when they brought back the World Heavyweight Championship,
Yeah.
either going to be like that, or they're going to make triple threat matches with the winners going on and to face in a fatal four way or whatever for the title, because they could do that too, like what they did with the Intercontinental Championship just recently.
Right, exactly. Now there's one woman that we're all forgetting about that has been on the shelf for about a year and a half that I could easily see winning this new United States Championship.
God, Charlotte. No, she doesn't need it. I get your point, because she's a big name and it would help elevate the title.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you're basically like, okay, I may not be the biggest fan of Charlotte and her constantly being booked, but she's already proven that she's a main event caliber world champion caliber
Right.
talent. So I think, if you have her go after the women's US title, it's just like, oh, what? Now all of a sudden she goes from main event talent to just like mid card.
That hasn't stopped them before. You have
Yeah.
guys that have won the WWE Championship and been world champion and then gone back to being Intercontinental Champion, US Champion. And I think it's something that they can give Charlotte Flair in the meantime, and it doesn't necessarily because we've seen it.
Well, say you say Charlotte, so let you say Charlotte. I'll say we haven't seen her in a bit, but it's only a matter of time before we do. Yeah, Becky Lynch also.
That's very true. Becky Lynch can also be a face that can carry that.
Yeah, and Becky Lynch, like she was the women's world champ, but just transitional, just to put Liv over, which makes sense because Liv beating Becky, Liv beat a big name, so it made sense for why they put the title on Becky, it was short, and then have a Liv beat her. So
And
I,
that,
am so,
yeah,
so having someone like Becky, that could go a long way too. Again, it can bring more relevancy and help make the title feel like important. Someone
exactly. And that can easily
Becky
be a
or
big
even
time.
Charlotte, or
Yeah,
imagine having this Becky versus Charlotte for the women's U.S. title.
yeah, at WrestleMania.
Becky from Raw, Becky representing Raw, Charlotte representing SmackDown.
Hmm. I can see that being a WrestleMania match.
Oh yeah, oh totally. I don't know if they're gonna want to do that, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely, you say Charlotte. I think Becky's another one you could
Yeah.
say too, especially because when you look at how Becky, when she won the NXT Women's Championship, she used it as a way to get more talent, to shine, get talent actually, time on screen, and she was constantly defending it, and I could see her doing something similar with the women's U.S. title. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not saying that you have to do like the John Cena type U.S. Open challenge, but like I could see someone like Becky or even Charlotte being like the workhorse and going to NXT and be like, here, I'm going to give you an opportunity at a championship. I could
Yeah.
totally see them doing that.
Yeah, and also like it kind of breaks the pattern of when Charlotte Flair returns. It's also like you've seen it a lot where Charlotte is just shoehorned into a world title match and then she wins, and then she's getting closer and closer to beating her father's record, and I think that's ultimately the goal of what they want. But it also breaks the pattern of that. So if you were to put Charlotte in the Women's United States Championship picture, it kind of makes her, we're gonna see her do a lot more different things and work with a lot more different people.
Yeah, and it
And
might be one of those things where Nick Aldis is like, "Oh, I know how in the past you usually come and get inserted in the picture, but here, the way I run things is you have to earn it. And if
yeah,
you want to earn it, you got to earn your shot at this U.S. Women's title. And if you do well, then maybe I can put you back in the world title picture.
yeah,
But you got
and
to
she
work your
hasn't,
way up to it.
yeah, she hasn't been around since Nick Aldis took over SmackDown.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if they're gonna have her come back as a heel or a babyface.
Yeah, this is the weird.
Pro- I think they'd probably have her come back as a babyface, but it depends.
It
Like,
does depend.
cause I we can see Tiffany Stratton getting ready to turn babyface for the first time. So
Exactly.
if they want to give her a legitimate challenge, then maybe you do have Charlotte be the heel. Have Tiffany versus Charlotte with Charlotte being the heel.
Exactly. Yeah,
But it all just depends on the route they want to go.
and there's a
So,
lot of deserving women for this championship.
oh yeah, there is. Yeah,
Yeah,
another name. It might fly under the radar. I know a lot of people might not agree with it, but you even have someone like Natalia.
yeah.
Simply because of her longevity of her being a veteran.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we've seen it before now with Natalia. You know what I mean? She doesn't really push the needle. She's a great hand, but ultimately, she's not somebody that fans are going to clamor for to see win. If she were to win a championship, I think it'd be a cool moment because she does deserve it. But at the end of the day, they're going to put women in a place where can they move the needle? Are they able to,
Yeah,
be
and
marketable?
and who knows? And now with the current position of the Judgment Day and with their title pursuit, maybe we see Raquel Rodriguez win the women's U.S. title.
Yeah.
Add some legitimacy, and if it's like she's not, I don't think she's there yet. I do think Raquel Rodriguez is a future women's world champ, but I don't think she's there yet. So I think if they were to have her win the women's U.S. title, it could help elevate her to that world championship caliber level.
Yeah, definitely. I think she's still a little off from, getting there. At one point she was, but she went away for a while, with the whole condition that she had with her skin. And then when she came back, it was like crickets. People were like, "Oh, who's that? Raquel Rodriguez? Oh, I remember her." So they need to get her back to a level where fans are going to take her seriously.
Yeah, and this women's U.S. title might be the best way to get Raquel, out there and
Yeah.
make her own person again.
Exactly. But yeah. All right, so let's get in. We're going to discuss our top 3 favorite women's matches in WWE of all time. You want to go first?
Yeah. So the first I'm not saying mine in particular order, but I think this might be a little bit of some recency bias also because we were there, but for actually I have two from the last, not this year's WrestleMania, but from WrestleMania 30 and 39, the two we were at. So first I have Bianca versus Becky at WrestleMania 38
Okay.
from night one.
Mm-hmm.
And it just I felt that match was like really good. You have two very talented women in the ring. You have a big name like Becky, and then you have like a up and comer who's already made a little bit of a name for herself, but Bianca was still like still needed like that big win, to put her over the.
Well, yeah, she had won against Sasha Banks at WrestleMania 37 in the main event,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
she still wasn't like at that top level.
yeah, and I think her beating Becky at WrestleMania 38 helped put her into that top position because it was from that moment we saw her hold the title for what, like 400 something days.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought that match was great. They had great in ring chemistry. The fans were into it the whole time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It may not be everybody's favorite, but I enjoyed it. So I have that in there.
I'll admit that because we were there together, I went to go take a pee during that match, and I regret leaving during that match because I could just hear the crowd erupt. And so I was like,
Yeah.
"Dang, I am missing out on a pretty
Yeah,
good
you try
match."
you're like, oh, here, I'll take this as my piss break match. Nope. Uh-uh.
Exactly.
You're up.
All right, so mine is from Survivor Series 2018. Charlotte Flair was the SmackDown Women's Championship champion versus the Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey. So this was a big time match. Any other pay-per-view probably would have gotten a main event spot because you had two battles of these giants coming clashing for the first time.
Yeah, and remember the original plan for this match, it was supposed to be Becky versus Ronda, but then that's when Becky got the broken nose.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that led into the WrestleMania main event later. But this match was great. This was a great match. Really the first match that I could say, wow, to both women, Charlotte Flair was already a proven wrestler at that point. She had been in the company for quite a few years already, probably 3-4 years, maybe 5 years. Ronda Rousey had just come in a couple years, or no, she had just come in that year.
Same year, yeah, that
Same
year.
year. So a little more unproven, but I would say that this match, that they really really worked each other. They had a really good chemistry in the ring, both very physical match. They laid it into each other. A lot of different submissions. Ronda was able to present a lot of her UFC and MMA style fighting, and Charlotte Flair was able to combat it with a lot of reversals and a lot of like athleticism. And you go back and watch this match, it is a banger. The only thing about this match is the finish. So because it was such a great match, the story playing into it was that Charlotte just snapped because she couldn't beat Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey just kept coming at her and kept coming at her. And Charlotte was like, F this, I'm going to get disqualified. And that was really like a dumb way to end that match because it was so good. But
typical Vince McMahon booking right there. He'll give you a banger and then he just screws up the ending.
Exactly. And yeah, what they probably wanted at that point was for Charlotte to turn heel. And that crowd was in Los Angeles at the Staples Center. And the crowd just ate it up. They loved it. They kept going for more. They asked for more and more and more.
Wait, 2018 was at Staples?
Yeah, it was.
Was it? I thought it was 2019.
No, 18. That's the one where Enzo Amore got ejected from the crowd because
I was there.
You were there?
I was there.
How do you not remember this then?
Because I think I was. Yeah, I don't remember.
Dang, you're getting old. You're getting old.
No, it's not that. It's just I remember that. Well, I remember that was the one where, like, I think Raw swept SmackDown.
Might have been.
And I know a lot of fans didn't like that because I know that was the one that had like John Cena was part of Team SmackDown, and then you had like Jeff Hardy on Team Raw or whatever it was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that 5-on-5 match was like really disappointing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this was during the whole era of Raw being, and just WWE in general being terrible. But you had matches like this that kind of kept the momentum going for WWE at least a little bit. But yeah, it was a great match, just tainted by a terrible ending, and they were able to at least resurrect themselves a little bit for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, solid. And my other one, I think you have this too, from WrestleMania 39. Mm-hmm. Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Man, that match was amazing. It started off slow. It looked like it was like, oh, it's gonna be one of those, like, slow.
Yeah.
And also think about it, this was the first time in the history of women's wrestling in WrestleMania history that there's been a rematch, because we saw Charlotte take on Rhea Ripley 2 years prior for the NXT Women's Championship.
Yes. And that was in the Performance Center because it was
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah. And so think about, they run it back and they like tore the house down. They blew their first match out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it started off slow, but then they really picked it up like later on, and the crowd was into it like the whole time. And there's a scary spot where Rhea, I think, suplexed Charlotte, and Charlotte landed like on her neck, almost
Yeah.
like on her head. And I know that was a little bit of a scary spot,
Mm-hmm.
but no, that match was great. Both women giving each other their best. They both kicked out of their finishers, and then we saw Rhea for the first time hit an avalanche
Yeah.
riptide for the win. And yeah, that match was just crazy. It was special. The whole crowd was into it. I know you and I were hyped for it. And this match came right before the main event, which was another banger, was the tag team championship match.
If it wasn't for the tag team title match, that would have been match of the night.
Oh yeah. It definitely would have been it. But that I thought, like, that you had two solid great back-to-back matches. The Charlotte and Rhea, and then the tag match. I thought that was like a solid way to end night one.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So my second on the list here is from NXT 2015 Takeover Brooklyn. It's Sasha Banks, the NXT champion, versus Bayley.
Yep.
Honestly, one of the best women's matches that you'll ever see, and if you haven't seen that match, you'll be hard pressed to find a crowd that's more into that match than they are into this one.
And I think that's when we start to see, a change in dynamic when it came to women's wrestling.
Right, exactly. So this is,
I think that's when people started to realize, like, wait, these women actually can wrestle. Like, they're not just eye candy. Like, no, they actually can wrestle. It's like,
exactly.
yeah.
So
It's like a lot of them were able to wrestle. They were just held back because of, back then they were just treated like, oh, you're eye candy.
Right. This is the beginning of the women's revolution.
Oh, yeah.
And this is also the beginning of when NXT really was carrying WWE on their back for a long period of time, because this is the period where WWE, like I said, in 2018, but going before this is the start of WWE being really bad on television. Raw, SmackDown.
This was black and gold NXT when Triple H was still in charge.
There was not a lot to get excited for in WWE at this point, but I remember every takeover, me and my friends would always get together and watch these takeover pay-per-views, because they were always the highlight of the weekend. Whether it was SummerSlam or the WrestleMania or a Rumble, you had NXT takeover, and it literally took over the weekend because it was the best wrestling on that weekend. And this is when, obviously WrestleMania was one night. Going forward, you're gonna have SummerSlam 2 nights. This is when NXT was on Saturdays. And really, this was the highlight of the weekend because, they had the best wrestling. Triple H had just taken over NXT. He started molding it into what you would see it become. And this is the start of that, start of the real black and gold era. And you had women's wrestling that had just started to become what it is today. Sasha versus Bayley, two, Hall of Fame wrestlers now. And I think, it was just the perfect timing for what we were seeing.
I think I have to rewatch that match, but I remember I've seen like bits and clips of that match, but like from what I have seen, I know it was like amazing. That's a match that I also have it. I have it as part of my honorable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. That's when they really start to see like the woman be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next match I have is actually a match that just happened fairly recently. It happened last year. Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch in the steel cage.
Ooh, okay. I don't remember it being anything kind of special.
No, you got to go back and rewatch it. Okay. That match was like a banger. They because their first 2 matches were a little like underwhelming, but they like really blew it out of the water with this. I would argue it's probably Trish's best match of her entire career.
Interesting. Yeah.
The crowd was into it, dude. The crowd was eating it up. I thought it was like amazing for like you know, a good way for Trish to end her brief run.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought it was a solid end of the feud. You know, Becky going over, and so I liked it. If you haven't seen it yet, or you have, I say go back and rewatch it because
Yeah.
that was great. And then another match that I have like in like as like kind of tying in with it is the women's triple threat match at WrestleMania 32 for the newly minted women's championship between Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Becky.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was like the first like real women's match on the roster that actually made a significant impact in the future of women's wrestling.
Yeah.
Because it's like we saw we saw it in NXT, but I felt this match was like the start of it on like the main roster. Like, oh, the women are taking over, and that match was great from like head to all three women gave it their all. Don't agree with the finish, the wrong winner, but overall that match was still a very solid match.
No, definitely. All right, so my number, I guess not number one, but something that I think fondly of is the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal in WrestleMania 2009, WrestleMania 2005, where Santina Marella won.
God,
I'm joking with you. It is not that.
God.
Do you remember Santina?
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, damn, dude. I knew you had bad taste, but I didn't know it was that bad.
They could never do that now with transgender.
Hell no. Although we did see, no, scratch that. We actually did see that in one of the women's rumbles.
Oh, we did see.
Yes, yeah, we did.
Santina come
we
back.
Did. Yeah, we did.
That was 2018 or 2019.
I think it was one of those years, but we did see it. Yeah,
that's crazy. I'm joking with that.
Yeah, no. I was about to say that I knew you had bad taste, but that was just outrageously bad.
Still a great moment. Probably the greatest moment in WWE history, Santina. But my number one is from WrestleMania 39. You have Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, the rematch from 2 years ago at WrestleMania 37. And this is for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and it would be the last match under the SmackDown Women's Championship name, because right after that we started rebranding from the Raw and SmackDown Women's Champions to WWE Women's Champion to World Heavyweight Champion, Women's World Heavyweight Champion. And this was a epic battle between, like I said, two heavyweights and two giants, in the ring. And the match did start off very slow, but it picked up very, very nicely, and just so intense at the end. And us in the crowd we were so pro Rhea Ripley.
Oh yeah, I think this was like, I mean, the crowd before it was already like into Rhea, but I think this match is what really solidified Rhea into like a top woman, like in the entire roster. And now you look at her now, even though she's look at her now, she's still the most she's still getting the loudest reactions out of any of the women on the roster.
She's the top dog of the women's.
Yeah, and she's really been, she was never a bad wrestler, but like she's really stepped it up lately. Like, especially like she had her first few matches of her defense were okay, but she had the really great ones. Like, she really stepped up her in-ring game.
Exactly.
At following that match. So that's a good choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A great match. And like I think my honorable mentions are the WrestleMania 36 match, no, WrestleMania 32 match, the triple threat, Rhea, Becky, and Sasha. Another honorable mention is
you mean Charlotte, Becky, Sasha?
Yeah. Another honorable mention is Sasha versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 37.
I have that too. And I know another one for me. It's a multi-woman match, but I felt like it's very impactful and very significant. It's the inaugural Women's Royal Rumble from 2018.
Yeah, that was great.
It's like, because it's like, again, we see this changing of the guard with like the women actually be taken seriously, and it got to the point where they actually have a decent amount of women on the roster that they're actually able to do things like the Royal Rumble, and eventually we see the first ever women's elimination chamber.
Exactly.
Women's Money in the Bank. Like this all paved the way for that.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
the with it being the first women's Royal, I still think the first women's Royal Rumble is the best women's Royal Rumble we've had.
Mm-hmm.
And last year's was good too. The one where Rhea Ripley won.
Yeah,
That was pretty
all great.
But yeah, the first women's Rumble we saw a lot of returns. We saw Trish Stratus returns, Lita,
Mm-hmm.
Michelle McCool, Molly Holly. We saw a lot of these legends return, and it was really good to see them. And a lot of them, it's like, damn, they still got it, And then having, of course, the mix of like the current roster.
No,
and, like
I could say is like this past Royal Rumble was like we had a lot of like NXT women and current generation wrestlers in there, and it was a botch fest, I would say.
Yeah, well, I know the biggest moment I remember from that Women's Royal Rumble match was the appearance of the TNA Knockout Women's Champion Jordynne Grace.
Yeah,
I thought that was like the highlight of that entire match, because it was really a shock, like seeing, so I know we've seen it before with Mickie James, but like that one, they announced it way ahead of time. We knew it. This one was totally unexpected.
exactly.
But yeah, no, I still think the first Women's Royal Rumble is like the best Women's Rumble we've had to date. And then like, was it a little predictable with it being Asuka? Yeah, a little bit, but it still put on a great, overall match, and it was the main event of that Royal Rumble too.
Exactly.
So that's how it was big, because it was the main event.
Exactly. Now we have a little bit more than 6 minutes remaining in this podcast. Now I want to get your take on maybe some too soon, but let's get a little bit of predictions on your women's Royal Rumble winner for the 2025 Royal Rumble.
Okay, this might just be being biased. I already know you're gonna give me slack for it. My girl Alexa, that's what I want. But realistically, I do think I think she's going to be the first woman to accomplish this feat. I think we are going to see Rhea win her second Rumble, just because, like, again, she's the most over. I think the end goal is for her to be champion again.
Yeah.
I think if the plan is for Liv to hold on to the title, they're going to have the rematch at WrestleMania with Rhea winning. So I do realistically see Rhea winning and becoming the first woman to win 2 Royal Rumbles. But another one I have under the radar is someone, like Lyra Valkyria, a shock, something shocking like that.
Yeah.
But I think my money's on Rhea.
Yeah. No, I would say Rhea Ripley as well, because you want to be able to put her in a primetime spot for WrestleMania, and I think if they can continue this feud all the way till WrestleMania, which I think it's a little hard to, but if you somehow can continue this feud all the way to WrestleMania, you're gonna want Liv versus Rhea in a top spot on that card.
Yeah, and I feel like the best way to get her that top match is by having her win the Women's Rumble again.
Exactly. And she's going to be such a big time babyface, but she's actually currently hurt as well.
Yeah, she is legitimately hurt. Yeah.
So
yeah, she is legitimately hurt.
But yeah. All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, this will do it for our podcast today. All right. Yes. Another exciting one.
Yes. All women. So, we figured, we talk a lot about the men of wrestling. So we figured, give the women spotlight this time around.
Show them love too.
Yes. Alexa, you're my girl. I know you're probably not going to see this, but you're my girl. I hope to see you return in the 2025 Rumble. I hope to see you win main event WrestleMania.
It's been a long time since.
And win.
She's not going to win, but I think she will return. I know. Did you hear about that scam that an old guy fell for? Because somebody was portraying Alexa Bliss. That's just
Yeah. So be careful with those scams out there, because LA Knight just recently had an incident like that with another fan. So be wary of those scams.
Exactly. Don't fall for anything.
Yeah,
I once had Kathy Kelly Instagram me.
If you get a message from someone who claims to be a WWE, if you don't see the blue check mark, don't even acknowledge it, or
okay.
just poke fun and have fun with it.
Have fun with it, but also they're not going to reach out to
Yeah,
you.
they are. Yeah, no, the individual superstars themselves will not reach out to you.
Exactly. Nobody from WWE is going to reach out for you, and claim that they're going to be your lover. And don't fall for it. Don't
Yeah, so
send pictures. Don't send
don't fall
money.
for it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So take it.
Kathy Kelly can still, she's still waiting on my checks.
But yeah, no, take it from the Lace Up Sports Media. A little safety PSA. Don't fall for those scams.
Exactly. Don't fall for those scams. Alrighty. Until next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Mike, and he's
I'm Ryan. This is Rasslin W. Catch y'all next time. You can't see me.
Now they can't.